Pepsi is many of our go-to choices when we want something cool and pleasant to drink. On the other hand, were you aware that it has been available to consumers for almost a century at this point? Caleb Bradham is credited with being the brains of the classic Pepsi beverage. Through hard work and dedication, he was able to develop what is now one of the world's most well-known and popular thirst quenchers. Keep watching and see how this college dropout built the Pepsi empire. The original creator. In the year 1865, Caleb Bradham was born in the county of Duplin, North Carolina. He was born into the family of George Washington Bradham and Julia McCann Bradham, his mother. In the year 1886, he enrolled at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill to begin his studies there. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to complete his coursework. Because of the failure of his father's business, he was forced to give up on school. In spite of the fact that he was unable to complete his education at the university, he was adamant about following his passion and working in the medical field. He made the decision to go back to his childhood home and began working as a teacher at a local private school. After working as a teacher for more than a year, he was ultimately successful in enrolling once again at the University of Maryland. His ambition was to work in the medical field. This time, he decided to pursue a career in pharmacy, and he ended up graduating with honors. On January 1st, 1902, Caleb Bradham wed and became a married man. He married Charity Credo, who was also a native of New Bern, North Carolina. They brought into the world Mary Bradham, Caleb Darnell, and George Washington Bradham. The Pharmacy of Bradham. In the same year that he received his diploma from the university, 1895, Caleb Bradham also received his license to practice pharmacy. After that, he built Bradham's Pharmacy in New Bern by purchasing a pharmacy and naming it after himself. He was able to cultivate a pleasant atmosphere at his pharmacy, making it a place that customers enjoyed visiting. He installed a jukebox that offered music played on the piano. People would hand up a nickel in exchange for the ability to choose the song of their choosing. He was able to conduct the studies with relative ease due to his experience and expertise in the field of medicine. Various taste combinations were tested, and Pepsi Cola was first established in this same spot sometimes later. Thus, he took the necessary steps to staff the pharmacy with an assistant. The reason for this was that he wanted to dedicate his whole attention to the new venture as well as his innovation. The story of the creation of Pepsi Cola. Bradham has always been concerned about the well-being of his clients. Because of this, he was inspired to create the renowned beverage known as Pepsi Cola. In those days, the majority of the ingredients in soft drinks were opioids, and he had a strong aversion to drugs. He tried out a lot of different things by mixing and experimenting with a wide variety of liquids, syrups, spices, and anything else that would be beneficial. The objective was to develop a new kind of soft drink that's better for one's health than those that are available on the market. Therefore, he began doing research on various soft drinks and eventually came up with a formula for one. It was a combination of vanilla rare oils and cola nut extract in the final product. The primary components of the beverage were sugar, water, caramel, cola nuts, nutmeg, lemon oil, and several additional flavorings and colorings. The drink was so well received that it was given the moniker Brad's Drink by the locals. James Henry King, who worked as an assistant to Caleb, was the first person to sample the beverage. Also, Caleb made the decision to devote all of his time and energy to perfecting the beverage so that he could sell it in response to the growing demand. In the end, he decided to tone down his beverage, and on August 28, 1898, he rebranded it as Pepsi Cola. He was under the impression that the product helped with digestive issues, and in contrast to other soft drinks available, it didn't have any negative effects on the body. There are a few theories floating around about why he chose that specific name. There is a possibility that it's due to the fact that the beverage had pepsin enzymes on the inside. On the other hand, the beverage lacked the pepsin enzyme in its composition, so it was given this name because he was under the impression that drinking it had the same impact on the digestive tract as taking pepsin would. In 1902, he laid the groundwork for what is now regarded as a vintage enterprise by establishing Pepsi Cola Incorporated. Pepsi Cola was able to get one of the first trademark registrations ever made with the United States Patent Office. The first advertisements for the product referred to it as the original pure food drink. Because of the government's determination in 1906 that the product did not include any potentially dangerous ingredients, the assertion was reasonable. The expansion of Pepsi Cola. Caleb Bradham had a great deal of financial success in the first few years after the introduction of Pepsi Cola. He made the decision to launch the first bottling franchises in the cities of Charlotte and Durham in response to the rise in demand. He made a great number of fresh chances and employment positions available to the people in the region. Even further, he made the decision to sell franchises. In 1905, there were just 2 locations where manufacturing took place. Pepsi Cola required a central location for its operations, so in 1908, the founder of the firm firm established a home office in New Bern. Already in 1910, there were 300 bottlers doing business throughout the 24 states in the United States. And it was discovered that Caleb Bradham was not only a successful advertising but also a successful businessman. He began his advertising effort by focusing on well-known ladies and celebrities to draw attention to the positive aspects of the beverage. The Pepsi Cola company was one of the pioneers in the shipping industry when it came to the utilization of motorized transport, the crisis phase of the company. Pepsi beverages were distributed all across the Southeast in 1915, and as a result, he made a total of $31,346. On the other hand, he had no idea that difficult times were on the horizon. The rationing of sugar began in 1917 as a direct result of World War I. Because of this, the output of Pepsi Cola plummeted drastically, as did the company's overall revenues. As a result, he began to consider the many options available to him for escaping this predicament. In the end, Caleb made the decision to make use of sugar replacements. On the other hand, this resulted in unfavorable comments from consumers. Following the conclusion of the war, the price of sugar was increased to 28 cents per pound. It was a monumental error on Bradham's part to make the decision to acquire a big quantity in advance, especially considering the subsequent precipitous drop in price. As a result, Bradham was forced to increase the price of Pepsi as well. However, people did not want to spend any more than the standard price of 5 cents for a bottle of Pepsi Cola drink, since they were used to paying that amount. And this truth led to more demonstrations of disapproval. The bankruptcy of Pepsi. The company of Caleb Bradham was not prepared for these kind of difficulties. He was unable to come up with a solution that would allow him to pay for the manufacturing charges. Therefore, the corporation filed for bankruptcy in the year 1923. He sold his firm without realizing that it would go on to become the second largest producer of soft drinks in the world after he left it. So an investor based in Richmond, Virginia purchased the business in question for the price of $35,000. Following that, it changed hands 4 times until finally going bankrupt in 1931. On the other hand, after a change of ownership, it gradually improved and expanded its reputation on a global scale. As of right now, PepsiCo's yearly retail sales might reach up to a whopping $98 billion. Also, Pepsi is widely regarded as one of the most popular sodas produced in contemporary times. Both the quality of the items and the way they were marketed contributed to the company's success. The efforts of generosity made by him. Despite the fact that he had a long way to go, he was still concerned about the health of other people and the prosperity of his town. For instance, the Caleb Bradham Scholarship Prize for pharmacy students at the University of North Carolina was preserved and awarded until the year 1930. He attended services at the Presbyterian Church and was known for his deep devotion to his faith. Additionally, it's a well-known fact that he had always identified as a Democrat. He was a dedicated volunteer who took part in a wide variety of charitable activities held all around his hometown. He was one of the people who first established the North Carolina Naval Militia. In the beginning, he served in such a capacity as a lieutenant. In 1904, he was promoted to the rank of commander, and 4 years later, he was made captain. At the time of his retirement, he had the rank of rear admiral. In addition to that, he served as a county commissioner and later became president of People's Bank. Caleb Bradham owned a home in Newborn, North Carolina, and in the end, his home was included on the National Register of Historic Places roster of properties. His pharmacy is now known as the Pepsi Store, and it's a popular destination for tourists in New Bern. Caleb Bradham passed away on February 19, 1934 at the age of 67 after a protracted bout with sickness. Leave a comment below telling us whether you believe he should have sold his firm or not, as well as the reason why. And that wraps things up. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.